Thank you very much. Well, hopefully you'll clap at the end as well. Okay, which is good. Look, the country where I come from, I've arrived in Hong Kong about 18 months ago, and in the country that I've come from, we would always introduce ourselves in a very particular way. So let me do that to you this morning. Ko te wehi, ki te atua. Mei whakakororea tōna ingoa, inei wā katoa. Now, does anyone know what language have I just spoken in?
Maori.
Māori. Fantastic, well done, Māori. So I'm from New Zealand, and in New Zealand, one of the very important ways of introducing yourself is to have what we call a proverb. And so that was te reo, which is the Māori language, the indigenous language. And really what I said was that I acknowledged God this morning, and I proclaimed him as the Lord of my life and also of the school that I'm a part of. So my name is Richard Vanderpyl. I'm really blessed to be the head of school at Christian Alliance International School. My wife and I, we have 4 children, and the youngest is 21, the oldest is 27. So we've left them all in New Zealand, which was the reason we came to Hong Kong. Wasn't really, but I've been here. I've been in education for 34 years. In New Zealand, I was head of a Christian school, the second largest in New Zealand. I was there for 17 years, and then in March last year, my wife and I came to Hong Kong. I love it. I absolutely love it here. It's just fantastic. Look, it's a really interesting question, isn't it? If an international school does not seek to be the best in Hong Kong, but the best for Hong Kong, what is the type of education that it delivers? Because I think, you know, as you are looking for an international school for your son or for your daughter, you need to know, what does the school hold as important? Because there is one thing I can tell you for sure, after 34 years in education, and you've all been in education yourself, you know that the school will shape your son. The school will shape your daughter. And that's why it's so important, as you're looking at different schools, to really identify what is prized, what is held as important in that particular school. Because they say that the school's vision is a picture of the future student it sends out. The school's vision is a picture of the type of student that the school sends out. And so we have here an underlined, before I get to our school ethos, and it's not just about Christian Alliance, it's very general principles that I think you should be looking at. And so, oh, how do I, how do I do the next slide? Here we go, perfect, perfect. So here is the question. And you know, when you look at a statement like that, we have changed just one word. We've changed the smallest word in to for. And you know that by changing that one word from in Hong Kong to for Hong Kong actually changes dramatically the type of school it becomes. And let me illustrate this. If a school decided to be the best, and you'll walk around and you'll see some signs of different schools and they say #1 in Hong Kong and things like that. The question that a school has to ask itself is this: what do we want to be the best in? Because if we want to be the best in Hong Kong, well, in what? So let's decide that a school says we want to be the best in Hong Kong academically. And you know, lots of parents are going, oh, that's good news, you know. I want to have the best academic school in Hong Kong. But you realize this, that when that is the school's focus, when that is the school's importance, it changes the way the curriculum is delivered. Because all of a sudden, the assessment is around how do we make sure that we have academic rigor. All of a sudden, the school says, if we're going to be the best school academically, how do we choose our students? And one way we will choose our students is we will do an assessment task. And then what we're going to do is, and this is the terrible part of it, is this. In order for us to be the best in Hong Kong academically, we will only choose the brightest children because they will help our cause. So all of a sudden, it's saying to this group of parents, your children are of no value to us. because they are not the brightest students who sat the entrance test. We're going to take these students because they are the top. And we want to be the top school in Hong Kong academically, so these are the children that are going to help us do it. And your children, I'm sorry, don't count. How terrible is that, isn't it? That at an age of 5, at an age of 7, at an age of 10, at an age of 20, you are telling someone that they are of no value because they are not academically as strong as the other children. When a school wants to be the best in Hong Kong academically, it says, do we send our students out on service activities? Well, that takes them away from the classroom. That takes them away from assessments. The competitive nature changes. I'll give you another example. Let's say that we want to be the best school in Hong Kong for basketball. Seriously, for basketball, we are going to be the best school in Hong Kong. Well, look, I'm really going to make this very obvious. I'm going to look around for the assessment, and I'm going to take your son or daughter, and I'm going to take your son or daughter. Why? Because they're the tallest. And when you need basketball players, you need tall players. So all of a sudden, I'm saying, you two are important to me, but I'm sorry, for the rest of you, your children, they're not going to help us. Can you see that when a school says we want to be the best in something, it first has to say in what, and then it says, then you are important, but you're not. But when you say that we want to be the best school for Hong Kong, it shifts the focus. It shifts the focus from being the best in something to the person who leaves the school. It shifts the focus from being the best in something to be the someone who leaves and graduates from your school. And you know, for me, that is the beauty of education. The beauty of education is when the focus is on the student who will graduate from your school. What I'd like you to do is to imagine standing in the city of Athens. The city of Athens in Greece in the year 200 AD. The year 200 AD. And this was traditional every single year in the city of Athens. A group of young boys would go to the top of a hill in the city of Athens, and they would swear the oath called the Ephebic Oath. And they had to swear, they had to proclaim this promise to the city of Athens before they were allowed to become citizens of Athens. And this is the part of the Ephebic Oath. They had to promise that I will not leave my country smaller when I die, but greater and better, so far as I am able by myself and with the help of all. Do you know that they had to promise that when they left Athens, when they died, the city would be greater because they had been a part of it? And do you know that gives education purpose? It gives education purpose when it says to the student that education is not just about you, it is about the people you are with. It is about the society you live in. And that is why for us at Christian Alliance International School, we drum this, we speak often about this to our students. How can you be the best for Hong Kong? How can you be the best for your family? How can you be the best for the group that you socialize with or wherever you are going to be? I remember as a child being brought up by my parents, and they would often say, if we visited somewhere, leave the place better than when you first arrived. And that is an attitude of making sure you are looking not just for your own needs, but also for that of others. So let's have a look and see how this would work. Well, here is our school mission statement. Our school mission statement says that at Christian Alliance International School, we're going to cultivate learners with knowledge, skills, integrity, discernment, growing in love for God and service to humanity. And do you remember what I said, that the school's vision is a picture of the type of student who will leave the school? Here you have a picture of where we believe that education is not just for the end purpose of getting a good job. It's about loving God and serving other people. Can you see there in the school mission statement that it actually begins inward? It begins with the learner and with their knowledge and their skills and their integrity and their discernment. It begins with the person, but it doesn't finish there. It goes out. One is to God as a Christian school, and one is to other people. So how do we do that? And how do you look at a school? So, my challenge for you as you walk around a school and here today, look at the mission statements, read the vision statements. What do they say is most important for them? And I know that I'm a parent of 4 children. I know that I want my children to have a great education. Of course I do. And that's an academically rigorous education, of course. But if it is the only thing that is prized, what is being left out? What is the lip service, which is we just say these things, but we don't do it because we have our major focus somewhere else? So for us, what is a good education that you should look for in an international school? It covers 3 things. Because you see, a good education looks at you as a person. It looks at your son and your daughter as a whole child. It doesn't say, because you see this, if we want to be the best academic school, I'm only going to look at this part, isn't it? I'm only going to go, let's measure what's here. And if it's good enough for us, then we'll take that student. But a good education says it's holistic. You don't look at your child as just a mind. You look at your child as their heart and the things that they do and the type of person that they are. So a good education that prepares students for Hong Kong is one that sharpens the mind. So we talk about sharpening the mind, shaping the heart, and serving hands. The first one is sharpening the mind. If our students are going to be good for Hong Kong, they need to be academic students. They do. They've got to be able to articulate their ideas. They've got to be able to think well. They've got to be able to critique things around them. Of course, they need to be strongly academic. But you see, knowledge on its own is insufficient. If we just learn knowledge without what we might call wisdom, we're in trouble. And so for us, the best type of sharpening the mind is one that actually makes it a wise mind. And you know the difference, don't you, between knowledge and wisdom? Knowledge is just knowing stuff. Wisdom is knowing how to deal with it and how to use it to be able to bless others and to do good things for others. And when you are purely academic, you are focused on regurgitation. How do I know enough to pass the test? But what's the best test? How do I use what I know to make sure that people around me are benefiting as a result of it? But you know that a sharp mind is a dangerous mind if it's not shaped by the heart. And so a good education is one that also shapes your child's heart. It says, does your child love others? How do we shape your child's heart to show mercy? How do we shape your child's heart to show care and love and concern and compassion and all of those sorts of things, so that there is not a coldness, but there's a warmness towards others? Children, when they're young, generally tend to be selfish, don't they? When they're young, it's what's in it for me? It's what's in it for me? And we've got to be countercultural for that. We've got to change our idea that it's just not about me, but it's also about others. So let's also shape the heart for that. But you know that you can have a sharp mind, you can have a shaped heart, and it's still not enough. If I can see that someone is hurting, I can show sympathy. I feel sad for you. I'm sad that you are in that difficult position. How does that do anything for the person who is hurting? Nothing. There's a world of difference between showing sympathy and showing compassion. Compassion says, I'll be your companion. I'll get alongside you and I will help you and I will work with you. And that's what a good education to be the best for Hong Kong is, one that actually sharpens the mind, it shapes the heart, and it says, now go out and do something with your hands. Serve. Create opportunities in which you can bless others in there. So as we continue, I just want to talk a little bit about this. And again, it's important. I love this. I love this particular part. It talks about the difference between resume virtues and eulogy virtues. Now let me explain the difference. A eulogy, I'm sure many of you have been to a funeral. And a eulogy is when the people stand up and they speak about the person who has passed away. And if you're like me, I hear what they say about this person. And they don't talk, they talk about, he was a compassionate man. She was kind-hearted. She was willing to do things and all of those things. And you listen to these virtues, these beautiful things that they speak about this person. I sometimes sit there and I go, I wish I could be like that. I must, if this is what people say is so good, I wish I could do that. Now, those are eulogy virtues. A resume is your CV. A resume is what you go to your employer and say, employ me. Because, why? I'm punctual. I'm productive. I work hard. I meet deadlines. Notice the difference. Eulogy speaks about what their heart was like. A resume virtue speaks about their production. What do you value most in a person? It's how they make you feel when they walk away from you. It's what you remember about that person. And so for a good education, it does both. It says we know that for you to be the best for Hong Kong, you need to know how to be disciplined and to be punctual and how to work hard and all of those things. But we also want to teach you what it is to love and to care and to consume and to show mercy. Well, we've talked a little bit about the student. Let's also now talk about the nature of the curriculum. Because remember, if we are going to be the best in something, our curriculum will be directed towards that. If we're going to be the best for, then our curriculum will shape the type of thinking of the student. So for me, there are three really important things when you are looking at a school's curriculum. Three important things. The first one is, does the curriculum have learning for understanding? Learning for understanding. Now what I mean by that, and look, all curriculums will generally do this. Does the curriculum teach the student about themselves and the world in which they live? Does it teach them to understand why things have happened in the past, why things are happening today? That's really important, and that's a key part. But a good curriculum will also teach them how to critique. A good curriculum will also teach them how to understand the information they receive. Do we read so much on the internet, don't we? We just read so much. How do we know, to quote someone from another country, what's fake news and what's, true news? Do we have to teach our children how to really discern, how to discern what is correct news and what is incorrect news, what is good understanding and what is not so good. And the next thing we want them to understand is learning for appreciation. Do I love this one? Because, all of us, don't we? We want our children to enjoy school. We want them to, get out of bed. Yay, I'm going off to school. We want them to enjoy their learning. Absolutely we do. And if it's only you are learning for the test, they will only feel that that's the only thing that learning is important for. But to learn to appreciate is to learn to appreciate beauty around them. Do the important thing is when we teach the children about the world, we teach them, don't treat it as a commodity. Don't just treat it as a commodity. What are the resources we can use to make the best living? We teach them to appreciate the beauty of the world. Slow down, take time, smell the roses. Find beauty in the things that you are learning. One of the telling signs of a school that is purely focused academic is when students ask this question: Sir, is what we're learning today in the test? They ask the question, Sir, is what we are learning today in the test? And do you know what they're asking? Sir, should I make an effort to learn this or not? Because, sir, if it's in the test, I'll learn it. But if it's not in the test, why are we doing this? And can you see that an education becomes very narrow when it is only focused on what is going to be in the test? There needs to be learning to appreciate just the beauty of learning. You take a musician, there's an element of mastery, absolutely. If you're going to play the violin, it takes dedication and practice, and that's hard work. But I don't know many musicians who have only learned to play an instrument and not learned to appreciate the beauty of the music that they are creating. And that's the same with learning. Children need to understand that sometimes there's just beauty in learning. Look, the last part of the curriculum is learning for service. And that is that the curriculum should give opportunity for students to apply the things they're learning. Do you know, the classic case is, imagine an education that you only sit inside the classroom. Well, that implies somehow that the education doesn't have any real impact to the world. But why not when you are studying the environment? Why not when you are studying the effects of pollution and all of those sorts of things? Why not create opportunities for students to put it into practice? To practice recycling at home, to practice, going as a group to the beach and cleaning up the beach. Notice a sharp mind, understanding the importance of looking after the environment, a heart that says, I like the environment, I want to care for it, and then the serving hands to go out and do something. The curriculum should give opportunities for students to serve and to do things with the knowledge that they're learning. Well, I've talked about the student, I've talked about the curriculum, and very briefly I'll talk about the teacher. Do you know that you as parents, you shape your child? You really do. They will, when they're teenagers, they go, I hope I'm not going to be like mum and dad. Little do they know, they will be. But so too does the teacher shape the student. And when your children are 5 years old, when they're 6 years old, sometimes they believe the teacher more than they do mum and dad. It's just the way it is. Why do you say that? Because my teacher said so. So it's really important that the type of teacher that your child has is one that you are happy to have as a role model for your son or daughter. Does the teacher create an environment in the classroom where there is trust, where there is safety? The type of classroom that in an academic school, look, I'm strongly academic. In fact, my previous school, we were one of the top academic schools, absolutely. It came naturally because we did all of these other things. But in a strongly competitive school, children are scared to raise their hand because if they get the answer wrong, they'll be mocked or they'll feel, that they're not doing as well. A good teacher creates an environment in which there is no fear of failing in the class. There is no fear of putting your hand up and maybe getting the answer wrong. The fact that you tried is the key important thing. So the teacher there who models that. So how does Christian Alliance prepare students to be future ready? Look, we have a very strong focus on rigorous academic skills. We are a strongly academic school. But it is not our major focus. It's not that it's not unimportant, but we look at the whole child because it is what is going to be best for Hong Kong. We do cultivate in our students critical thinking skills. We want them to think. And the type of curriculum and the questions that the teachers ask makes them think. Not just tell me the answer, fill my mind, and I'll fill it out on the test paper. But how do I actually think about what is going on? Character development is important, and we also want our students to have a global and a service perspective. Do you know that for us at our school, because we're a Christian school, not just that, service is part of our DNA. It's part of who we are. And so that's why, for me, our underlying focus and ethos in the school is not to focus on being the best in something, but the best graduate who leaves our school that will be the best for Hong Kong and the best globally for wherever they go. So there is our school mission statement to finish with, and that's it there. Perfect. So look, thank you very much for coming along. It's lovely to have you to be here. We are, if you go out of the room and turn right, we're just in the end of the there. Come and have a look at the school. There's a beautiful prospectus that you can pick up. The school is growing rapidly, which is just wonderful, and we've got beautiful new facilities that are coming up as well. So come and have a look, come and have a chat further with me if you'd like to, but thank you very much.